Sharing the truth, one fact at a time. This is the Free America Radio Network. Well, howdy, folks. This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast for the 16th of September, 2014. Can you believe it's September already? Jeez, didn't we just have Christmas last year? You know, hey, we have a lot going on and a lot in the news that I want to share with you. Yes. Reuters is reporting weak gasoline, W-E-A-K, weak gasoline and food prices dampen U.S. producer inflation. It says here U.S. producer prices were flat in August, pointing to muted inflation pressures that should allow the Federal Reserve to bide its time as it considers when to raise interest rates. Isn't that a lovely story? We'll get into that here in a bit. Also, from Reuters, new global plans unveiled to crack down on corporate tax avoidance. Plans for a major rewriting of international tax rules unveiled on Tuesday could eliminate structures that have allowed companies like Google Incorporated and Amazon.com Incorporated to shave billions of dollars off their tax bills. So no more ditching the country not to pay, so you won't have to pay the taxes. From weeklystandard.com, Obama orders boots on the ground. We're at war. We're putting boots on the ground. We're not waiting around for the host nation's government to get its affairs in order or for a regional coalition to commit first. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. Also from newschannel10.com, safety concerns increasing at the Texas-Mexico border. Brownsville, Texas, officials report that increased numbers of militia members are showing up along the Texas-Mexico border. The Border Patrol says the growing number of militia members is an increasing concern for them. A new website called Patriots Information Hotline says there are about 16 militias along the border in Texas, and they are encouraging more to come. So here you go, folks. I mean, seriously, we have some problems facing us, folks. We have some huge problems coming down the line. And for the next hour, I am going to try to sift through all of that and give you my opinion and some analysis on all those articles and let you know what I believe would be the optimum solution. And it's very easy to yell and scream and, moan and groan and throw fits and stuff like that. But it's very simple just to sit down, look at it, examine it, and say, you know what? Here's a solution. Why don't we just do this? It might not be the perfect solution. It might not be the solution that somebody else would want. But if we can come together as humanity, as society, as a group of people and say, you know what, we need to do this, I think that would be better. But after the break, I'll come back and we'll get into the first article I shared with you. So stay tuned. Don't go away. You can go to the WayneSPierceShow.weebly.com site or email me at freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. And if you want to support the show, please do. Just go to the WayneSPierceShow.weebly.com site. Check it out. There's many, many different ways you can support this show and Free America Radio Network at the same time. Again, you have any questions, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. I shall return right after this. Don't wait until another natural or man-made disaster strikes. Have at least 72 hours of emergency gear near you at all times, and that includes food. Get your emergency food supply today. Go to freeamericaradio.us and at the top of the page, click on the emergency food supply link. Help your family by purchasing as much emergency food supply as you need. You'll be helping out your family and Free America Radio Network. Thank you. Local radio with a worldwide connection. The Free America Radio Network. Go to www.freeamericaradio.us. The Wayne S. Pierce Show on the Free America Radio Network. Go to thewaynespearceshow.weebly.com for more information. And catch the Wayne S. Pierce Show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 12 noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on the Free America Radio Network.
Sharing the truth one fact at a time. This is the Free America Radio Network.
Hey, welcome back, folks. This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast for the 16th of September, 2014. It is one of those days, is it not? Is it not one of those days when you wake up in the morning and you put your feet on the floor and you realize, wow, I woke up. Sometimes you don't want to go to work, do you? Sometimes you just want to stay home. You just want to mow your lawn. You don't want to really get involved or engaged in life, do you? You're just like, do I got to go back to that job again? Holy crap. Do I got to do that? Well, if you're asking yourself whether or not you have to go back to that job to deal with your boss, I think you need to be looking for a different job, okay? Seriously. Let me put this out here. If you have ideas for shows or you want to play music or whatever it is you want to do, you can go to Spreaker.com. Check out that whole website, find out if it's right for you, and go from there. Or if you have your own way of broadcasting, you can broadcast on the Spreaker platform as well. Go to Spreaker, Spreaker.com, and check out the plans, man. They got a plan that fits your budget. And if you want an app for your phone, scroll on down to the bottom, look on the right, and there are all the apps you need for whatever you're using as your communication device. So anyway, there you go. So, what do we got in our world today? How do we see our world? That's a good question, isn't it? How do we see our world? Well, it's kind of like going up to one of your friends and saying, hey, who are you? They're going to describe themselves as the job they do. They're not going to say, oh, I'm this. No, they're going to describe themselves as the job they do. Okay? It never fails. So how do we look at life? What do we see out there that is, that we're able to see? And the other question is, how do we change it if it suppresses us or puts us in a really bad area or whatever? Excuse me. How do we go about changing our lives in a much more positive way? That's a better question, isn't it? Well, think about that one, because whatever answer you come up with is your answer. Okay, I have my answer, you have yours. It's real simple. So, as we look out among the landscape and we see what's going on, we identify with certain things. We relate with certain things. We have certain things that we can call our own and say, well, I can relate to that because, right? Okay? When you see what's going on politically, and you see the travesty that is out there called democracy, this bastardized version of what is out there, you have to understand, you have to seriously understand that it has been so ripped up, torn apart, shredded so many times, reassembled, torn apart, reassembled. You have to understand that there is no foundation for democracy whatsoever. On the other hand, when you look at what a republic is, we have the opportunity to create such a huge impact in this country and really bring it back away from the brink of going over into the abyss by building a republic of, by, and for the people. We don't have that now. Now, how do we do that? How do we change course? How do we build a better future? How do we make way for a positive solution? I mean, all these questions are philosophical. All these questions are, ideological in ways. But the bottom line is, I don't care what religion you are. If you don't want to kill me, I'm fine. I don't care what color you are. If you're not pissed off that I'm not your color, I'm fine. I don't care what type of education you have. If you're from Yale or from, a city community college, I don't care. We're all part of humanity and a society looking for peace, freedom, and security and liberty in this nation that we had prior to 1871. Now, what's the positive end to this? Well, there is no end per se. There is a continuation of the idea and bringing in our abilities to create that peace, freedom, liberty, and security in our nation. That's, you're looking for one of them utopian societies. No, I'm not. I'm looking for peace, freedom, security, and liberty in this nation. That's what I'm looking for. And building upon that ideal and using the principles of goodness, mercy, and kindness, and understanding what true justice is, and putting all of that as the foundation of a new republic, and building upon that, we would then continue what our founding fathers first initiated into this country. That is something that we strive for. So anyway, it is what it is. There is no getting around the fact that we live in a corrupt society. We live under a corrupt ideology, a corrupt political philosophy in this country, and we need to change that. And we need to bring back the principles by which this country was founded and get rid of everything after 1871. Get rid of all the ideologies, of philosophies, all of that. Just get rid of it all and rebuild. And I would even go as far as saying, do what Iceland did. Totally eradicate everything, rewrite a brand new constitution, and bring it to the forefront using that as a basis here in America for a new republic. Now, how practical, or I should say how logistical would that be to get that to happen? And once that happens, how practical would it be to continue? I would say, well, America, the United States of America, has been around for over 237 years. I think we would be able to sustain that for much longer than that. But then again, when you look at history and you look at the Roman Empire, they were around for what, 600-700 years? But most of their whole system was corrupt after, now get this, the Roman Republic, that's what they started out as, got co-opted by some very nefarious characters and became what we know now as the Roman Empire. Is America, is the United States an empire? Yes, we are. Even people who look back in history look at the blueprints of how an empire became or came into existence. We, the United States of America, is now an empire. And that is the problem, folks. That is a huge, huge problem. And we need to pull that away. We need to tear that down. And we need to build a new republic. And if that means firing all 535 congressmen and women and their associates and their assistants, so be it. We need to do something, and we need to do it now. Now, of course, you have biblical prophecy, and you have prophecies in various areas, biblical, Nostradamus, you have Edgar Cayce, you have all these others. And they've said the United States of America, as we know it, will collapse. But it will be rebuilt. From some records I have read, some information that I have read, that it will be like the phoenix out of the ashes, and it will be brand new. But what will it be? We the people, decide what that will be. Excuse me. Will it be a continuation of a democratic socialist society? Or will it be rebuilt into a republic of, by, and for the people, for the sake of peace, freedom, security, and liberty in a nation of sovereign folks? This is something that we really have to understand. We really do have to understand this. Now, a lot of the times, a lot of people don't want to talk about that. A lot of times, a lot of people really don't want to discuss matters of politics because their minds are not set that way. They have a mindset of, if it doesn't affect me, I'm okay. Politics, the economy, inflation, global, news, well, not news, but global intervention into your own personal life is always, happening. Whether or not you believe it, whether or not you see it, what happens overseas will affect you over here. So, is what I'm saying. So, we need to really stop denying how bad the United States is. We have to stop denying, and we have to accept the fact that the United States of America is in the hole. We've been in the hole for many centuries. We cannot, or I shouldn't say many centuries, we've been in the hole since 1871. I'll put it that way. So we just have to stop. We have to reset, regroup, and rebuild into a new republic. I'll be back right after this. The BK Factor, with your host Brian Keller on the Shake and Wake Radio Network, shakeandwakeradio.com. This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce from The Views Expressed Please come join me on the Views Express Live, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Spreaker.com. Don't wait until another natural or man-made disaster strikes. Have at least 72 hours of emergency gear near you at all times, and that includes food. Get your emergency food supply today. Go to freeamericaradio.us and at the top of the page, click on the emergency food supply link. Help your family by purchasing as much emergency food supply as you need. You'll be helping out your family and Free America Radio Network. Thank you. For all you independent artists, musicians, and filmmakers, there is a place for you. Radio Rock 92.6 The Blitz. Go to radiorocktheblitz.blogspot.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Hold on tight. Get ready.
Hey, folks, welcome back. This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show for the 16th of September, 2014. Oh, boy. Let's get to the news, shall we? I got a few minutes here. Holy crap. Reuters is reporting weak gasoline food prices dampen U.S. producer inflation. U.S. producer prices were flat in August, pointing to muted inflation pressures that should allow the Federal Reserve to bide its time as it considers when to raise interest rates. The Labor Department said on Tuesday falling gasoline and food prices restrained its producer price index for final demand last month. Prices received by the nation's farms, factories, and refineries had edged up 0.1% in July. Quote, the Fed has more time to allow monetary policy to work its way through the economy before feeling the need to raise rates, unquote, said Jay Morlock, an economist at FTN Financial in New York. Economists had expected producer prices to gain 0.1% last month. In the 12 months through August, they increased 1.8%, accelerating a bit from the 1.7% rise in the year through July. The report came as Fed officials gathered for a two-day policy meeting. They have held benchmark rates near zero since late 2008, but are seen inching toward an increase around the middle of next year. Data on retail sales, manufacturing, the service sector, and housing have indicated the economy is on a firm growth path, although a quarterly survey of U.S. chief executive officers released on Tuesday showed they had grown gloomier on plans for hiring and more wary about sales prospects. Despite the mostly upbeat readings of the economy's health, the tame reading on producer prices suggested the U.S. Central Bank need not rush to remove its monetary stimulus. Quote, if Fed Chair Janet Yellen is looking for evidence of slack in the economy and thinking that inflation is too low, then PPI final demand prices fill the bill this morning, unquote, said Chris Rupke, chief financial economist at MUFG Union Bank in New York. The U.S. financial markets were little moved by the data as traders took to the sidelines to await the Fed's policy statement on Wednesday. The PPI last month was dampened by a 1.4% decline in gasoline prices, which followed a 2.1% fall in July. Food prices slipped 0.5% after raising 0.4% in a month earlier. Easing wholesale food and gasoline prices could tame consumer prices over the coming months. The Labor Department will on Wednesday release August consumer prices data, with economists expecting prices to hold steady on a month-on-month basis after nudging up 0.1% in July. The producer prices report showed prices received for services at the final demand level increased 0.3% after rising 0.1% in July. A 1.7% surge in prices for loan services accounted for more than 20% of last month's increase. Producer prices, excluding food and energy, ticked up 0.1%, slowing from a 0.2% gain in July. In the 12 months through August, the core PPI for final demand advanced 1.8%. It had increased 1.6% in July. A broader measure, which excludes food, energy, and trade services, increased 0.2% for a third straight month. It was up 1.8% compared to a year ago. Now, question. What does all that mean? Well, it means that we don't need to raise interest rates to bring money into the system. The market itself, excluding the Fed interest rate raise, excluding the raising of the interest rates, just exclude the Fed at the moment. The market is working. The overall market is, at its core, adjusting for its losses and gaining small gains, as it were, but gaining and rebuilding through its own devices and the market working itself out. It does not need the interference of the Fed. It doesn't, and when I say interference, I mean that. It doesn't need Fed control over the market. The market is working. You and I, that's the market. Consumers are pulling back some money, putting money elsewhere, the market is working. Okay? Now, that's excluding food and all of that. They're talking that end of it, excluding food, excluding all that. There are some data there as well showing an increase. The market is working. We don't need interest rates raised to inject fiat currency into the system. You and I, the market, the consumers, we are working to help rebuild this economy. That's what that means. The Fed has nothing to do with it and should have nothing to do with it. We need to get rid of the Federal Reserve and all of that. We need to kick it to the curb. It does not have a place in a consumer and market-driven economy. Okay? It does not. You and I, the entrepreneur, the mom and pop business owner, the small business with 100 employees or more, or even the medium-sized business with 500 employees or more, the market is working for us. We don't need the Fed. Okay? Just don't. Just keep them out. So you're doing good, people. It's a small gain, but we're gaining. Okay? So anyway, I'm not a financial expert, but from what I could tell, yes, things are getting a little better. From Reuters.com, new global plans unveiled to crack down on corporate tax avoidance, speaking of the economy. Plans for a major rewriting of international tax rules unveiled on Tuesday could eliminate structures that have allowed companies like Google and Amazon to shave off billions of dollars off of their tax bill. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development announced a series of measures that, if implemented by members, could stop companies from employing many commonly used practices to shift profits into tax havens. Corporate tax avoidance has become a hot political topic following media coverage and preliminary or parliamentary investigations into the arrangements many big companies use to cut their tax bills. Amazon and Google say they pay all the taxes they should. Analysts, say competitive pressures force companies to seek to minimize all costs, including tax. Last year, the group of 20 leading economies asked the OECD to develop an action plan to tackle the problem. Big U.S. technology companies could be those most affected by the OECD's plan, but others could also be impacted, including pharmaceuticals and branded consumer goods, as well as many European companies. The draft proposals announced have been agreed by G20 members and OECD members, which include most major industrialized countries, the OECD said in a statement. But the measures form a part of a larger tax base erosion and profit shifting program that will conclude next year. Only then will countries look at enshrining the results of the program in law. It's a test bed, folks. Think of it that way. If we did this, let's see what happens. If it works, we'll implement it. Pretty much. Treaty misuse. Continuing on here, treaty misuse. For more than 50 years, the OECD's work on international taxation has been focused on ensuring companies are not taxed twice on the same profits. The fear was that this would hamper trade and limit global growth. Over the years, the OECD has formulated a standardized model tax treaty which allows countries to split taxation rights and avoid double taxation, partly by providing reliefs from measures intended to stop tax avoidance, like withholding taxes. But companies have been using such treaties to ensure profits are not taxed anywhere. For example, search giant Google takes advantage of tax treaties to channel more than $8 billion in untaxed profits out of Europe and Asia each year and into a subsidiary that is a tax resident in Bermuda, which has no income tax. Google executive chairman Eric Schmidt, he's a globalist, he was at the Bilderberg meeting last year, has said changes to tax rules that increased its tax bill would hit innovation. Eric Schmidt, he was at the Bilderberg meeting last year and the year before last, and he is a globalist. And he wants to keep all of his money, but in what this is, he said changes to tax rules that increased its tax bills would hit innovation. I believe that innovation is key for growth. I believe that using the resources you have to support that innovation is good to a point. Okay, so in that, even though Eric Schmidt is a globalist, I can agree that by overtaxing a company such as Google and all that, any type of tech company, would burden them to the point of not being able to spend their money on innovation. I totally agree with that. Continuing, the OECD's proposals would make amendments to its model treaty so that cross-border transactions would not benefit from the reliefs in tax treaties if a principal reason for engaging in the transactions was to avoid tax. Quote, "We are putting an end to double non-taxation," unquote. What's that mean? OECD head of tax Pascal Saint-Amans said in a call with journalists. The think tank, which also advises members on economic policy, also wants curbs on how much profit companies can report in centralized intercompany lending and purchasing arms, which are often based in tax havens. Google bought the division of DARPA. What is that? Boston Dynamics? Yeah, so, yeah. Just go search that one up, folks. Continuing, where such subsidiaries generate large profits on the back of intra-company trade, the OECD said the profits should be shared across the group. This could hit UK telecoms provider Vodafone Group, which has Luxembourg subsidiary that buys telephone equipment for the group. Vodafone procurement companies, 200 staff generated profits of over 400 million euros, which is $518 million of U.S. dollars last year, making it one of the group's smallest but most profitable divisions. An unusual Luxembourg tax rule allowed the subsidiary to pay no tax on that profit. Vodafone said businesses across Europe already benefited from savings achieved by the Luxembourg organization and that it did not expect a significant impact on its business from OECD measures. Tax residence. Here's the big one, folks. The OECD has also proposed changes in the rules on tax residence that allows U.S. tech giants to generate billions of dollars in sales in many countries, but not have those revenues assessed for tax by those countries' tax authorities. A long-standing rule that allows a company to operate a warehouse in a country without creating a tax resident there should be reconsidered, said the OECD. A company goes in, doesn't become a resident, and therefore can avoid the tax. This would potentially impact internet retailer Amazon, as the warehouse exclusion allowed Amazon to channel 15 billion euros last year in European sales to a subsidiary in Luxembourg, where it can build up profits tax-free. A raft of companies which sell online include Apple Inc.'s iTunes services, software provider Adobe, and e-commerce group eBay could also be forced to report revenues in the countries where they are generated if the OECD's proposal that having a significant digital presence in a country would also create a tax resident. A Reuters investigation last year found that 3/4 of the 50 biggest U.S. technology companies channeled revenues from European sales into low-tax jurisdictions like Ireland and Switzerland rather than reporting them nationally. The companies all say they comply with tax rules in all the countries where they operate. Really? Okay. If you say so, they just don't pay it here. In other words, can you say money laundering? Can you say money laundering? Because that's pretty much what it is. It's to avoid a tax. You make $1 billion here, you take $250 million of that and you send it over to a country that has no tax, or you build a company over there and you make billions of dollars over there, and it's an American company, you're supposed to pay the tax to the American, to the United States in some way, shape, or form. Well, over there, because of certain policies here in America, they're exempt from those taxes, or not so much exempt, they just avoid them. Okay, that's just the way it is. Should companies go overseas and be taxed at the current United States corporate rate tax? I believe so. If you're going to make a profit, you better pay your taxes on that profit. Okay? I mean, that's overall, let me go into this direction on a personal income tax basis in regards to personal income tax. I don't believe anybody should be taxed on a personal income. I really don't. Consumer taxing, to pay taxes into the government, blah, blah, blah. Personal income tax needs to go away, period. You need to abolish that completely. All right? That's just it. I believe that. So why should that not be for a company? Why should we have to pay taxes? If we're overseas, I've heard that argument. If they're overseas, why are they paying American taxes when they're the resident of that country? Well, if they don't get the residency in that country wherever they're at, they don't have to pay taxes, and policies say they don't have to pay American taxes. They can keep all the profits, and they don't have to pay anything. That's what they're trying to get this proposal to do, is to cut all that out so that taxes can be paid by the corporations. Hey, folks, I'm going to take a little break. I shall return. Don't go away. This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast. Yes, for the 16th of September, 2014. Free America Radio at USA.com is the email address. Free America Radio at USA.com. The Wayne S. Pierce Show.weebly.com is the website. Please support this show and Free America Radio Network in the process. I shall return right after this.
No elitist drivel, no media spin. Logic over emotion, fact over fiction. The home of independent conservative thought. The Conservative Voice with your host, Jeff Wagner, only on the Conservative Radio Network.
Eastland Radio Repertory Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor? Do you want to hone your abilities? Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com. We are currently looking for voice actors to fill certain character roles in an ongoing radio play in development. Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com. This is Wayne S. Pierce from the Free America Radio Network, and we are looking for sponsors. If you want to sponsor any of the shows on the Free America Radio Network, email us at freeamericaradio@usa.com. Our website is freeamericaradio.us. Sharing the truth, one fact at a time. Defending liberty and freedom. Fighting the New World Order. This is the Free America Radio Network. Hey, folks, welcome back. This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast, 16th of September, 2014. How y'all doing? Give me a sec. Little orange juice. How y'all doing? You can email me, freeamericaradio at USA.com. freeamericaradio at USA.com. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to tell you about. First of all, from the weeklystandard.com. Obama orders boots on the ground. Yeah, you heard that right. Obama orders boots on the ground. It goes on to say, we're at war. We're putting boots on the ground. We're not waiting around for the host nation's government to get its affairs in order or for a regional coalition to commit first. The president has apparently overcome his reluctance to use the military, his worries about a commitment to intervene without an exit strategy, and his usual reluctance to acknowledge, even implicitly, that his administration was wrong when it assured us that there was nothing much for us to worry about. Of course, the enemy, the president, has boldly and unhesitatingly sent our troops to fight is the Ebola virus. Aren't there other parts of the U.S. government suited to carry on this fight? If not, shouldn't there be? Max Boot suggested building such a non-military civilian ability in the pages of his magazine over a decade ago. Surely an administration committed to smart power would have developed the civilian capabilities to fight a virus without deploying 3,000 troops. Apparently not. But it will be interesting to see if President Obama explains why unilaterally putting boots on the ground for the sake of killing our enemies is unthinkable in Iraq and Syria, but in order to cope with a virus, fine in Liberia. Isn't that just wonderful? Also from weeklystandard.com, John Kerry's at it again. He says, we must put real Islam out there. This is what he said. The article says Secretary of State John Kerry said Monday that to counter the ideology of the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant and its claims of a religious foundation for its actions, part of the strategy of the international coalition he is attempting to assemble must be to, as John Kerry says, quote, begin to put real Islam out there, unquote. Kerry in Paris for talks with various world leaders to build that coalition further said that all of the Arab leaders he had spoken with earlier concurred about their focus on, quote, real Islam and how important the Friday sermons are, unquote. The Secretary of State recently said that ISIL's ideology, quote, has nothing to do with Islam, unquote, and President Obama echoed these words, saying that, quote, ISIL is not Islamic, unquote. Yeah, I'll give you a second for that to sink in. Kerry's remarks about real Islam came during a roundtable discussion with the press after the Secretary of State with representatives from 26 countries to discuss how to confront the threat posed by ISIL. In recent days, Kerry has alternated between calling the action against ISIL war and counterterrorism, but in any case, he downplayed the military aspect of the operation. The military piece, he said, is, quote, critical component, unquote, but, quote, probably far more important, unquote, will be the effort to, quote, start drying up this pool of jihadis who get seduced into believing there's some virtue in crossing into Syria to fight or to join ISIL, unquote. Yeah. Here are Kerry's real Islam remarks in context. There's a whole bunch of them there. I'll put this up on, this is more important than the other ones, but I'll put this up on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page because this is, after all, folks, it's John Kerry, you know. So, anyway. So, John Kerry is a complete and utter doofus. I'm just saying. From newschannel10.com, safety concerns increasing at the Texas-Mexico border. Brownsville, Texas, officials report that increased numbers of militia members are showing up along the Texas-Mexico border. The Border Patrol says the growing number of militia members is an increasing concern for them. A new website called Patriots Information Hotline says there are about 16 militias along the border in Texas, and they are encouraging more to come. Militias have flocked to the Rio Grande Valley to help secure the border, and many plan to participate in the September 20th protest to shut down ports of entry, but agents say militias complicate law enforcement efforts. Right now, the National Guard, hundreds of state troopers, and 3,600 Border Patrol agents are all patrolling the border in the valley, and they say adding groups that are not connected could be dangerous. I'm going to stop right there and interject this. Hey, Border Patrol. Hey, National Guard. You want the extra help or what? Then shut up. Because that's what the militias are there to do. So if you're going to get all bitchy and moan about the fact that there are the people showing up that they're not connected, folks, who in the hell do you think protected our borders long before we had an army? Or any type of military, or any border patrol? Who do you think protected us? Okay? I'm just saying. All right? I'm just putting it out there. Let you chew on that a little while. In August, an agent was pursuing a group of immigrants in the Brownsville area when he came across the man holding a rifle. The agent fired shots at the man, who was later identified as a militia member. That man was not injured, but agents said this situation could have ended a lot worse. Well, you need to identify yourself, jackass. On both sides. Okay? Agents also go through weeks of training to understand immigration law or laws and say that people who are not trained on those standards could violate someone's civil rights and open themselves up to a civil lawsuit. I don't think so, moron. That very reason is why the Border Patrols stand by their message of leaving border security to them. Listen up, Border Patrol. Listen up, you jackasses. You're going to get the help. That's the way it is. If you want to bitch and moan about it, why don't you pack up your little ditty bags and go home and let the real men take care of the border? Got it? Or accept the fact that you need help. Well, they're not. Well, then you go out and do your job. And if any of those stragglers pass you by or get by you, then the militia will take care of them. And seriously. These people are complete morons. But here's a contradiction. The liberals in Washington, D.C., specifically in California as well, and in other liberal states, want the borders open. Open border people want the borders open. But federal law states it is illegal to be in this country if you do not go through the right process to be here legally. So, you open border people have to understand one very vital, important thing. You are wrong, period. Done. You're wrong, and you're violating the law. You are encouraging people to break the law. Well, there shouldn't be borders anyway. Well, then pack up your little bags and pack up your house and pack up your family and go to Mexico. And then you tell me how easy it is to get on the system down there. Well, how about doing one more thing? You open border people, if you don't like the fact that America is the way that it is, that the U.S. has the laws that it does to protect you, then why don't you pack up and go to China or Russia? I think you'd feel a lot more comfortable there. And, and I'm not imitating the Backstreet Boys, thank you very much. You folks who want to secure the border. First of all, Border Patrol is there. That's the first line of defense. Second of all, the National Guard is there to back up the Border Patrol just in case. And guess what? The militia is there to back up the National Guard. Shall I go on, or is that just too simple for you? Okay? That's the way it is. That's the structure. Okay? By the way, the militia, years and years ago, when the National Guard was put into effect and was created, guess what? The militia was co-opted and everything went political, and now the federal government says we can't have militias because, you're not trained and you're... Really? Listen up, Mr. Political Jackass. Have you gone out and talked to militia members? Have you gone out and trained with them? Have you gone out on the days that they go out and train and all? Have you stepped out of your cushy little office and found out exactly what's going on? No? Then shut your big damn pie hole because you have no idea what you're talking about. So you people that want to secure the border, secure the border. But communicate with the National Guard and the Border Patrol. And Border Patrol and National Guard should communicate with the militia. There you go. It works. Hello? Don't pull your guns. Except on the enemy. Okay? I don't know how simple I can explain it. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. You could now let me throw this scenario out at you, okay? You could at least, in the very beginning of your thought process, think, why do we have open borders? And then you can extrapolate from there and figure it out. But let me throw this scenario out at you. Borders are open. Everybody can come and go as they please. There's no border patrol. There's no nothing. There's nobody, whatever. There's just nothing down there. People can come and go. How does that affect the economic growth, I'm talking growth, of the United States of America. By the way, it doesn't, because the less wages you pay and the more inflation there is, the less growth there is. Do the math. Close the border, in comparison to the scenario, close the border, get rid of personal income tax altogether, implement, if you want taxes, that's up to you. I think they're illegal anyway. But if you want taxes, then it's a flat tax across the board no matter how much you make. Doesn't matter. And along with that, abolish the minimum wage, institute a fair market living wage per region, because some regions have a higher cost of living, some don't, and go from there. Just on that area, just in that arena. On the larger scale, get rid of the Federal Reserve, get rid of the IRS, get rid of those departments. Just get rid of them. They're not even related to the U.S. government at all. Go to Washington, D.C., get rid of 75% of all redundant, departments. Then fire all 535 congressmen and women. Set up 3 representatives per state. They can have representatives if they want. Set up 3 representatives per state. That's 150 congressmen and women. Have them meet 3 to 4 times a year for a maximum of 3 weeks with a 3-week extension, and get the job done. Don't sit there and form this committee and form that committee and do this and throw that over here and put this. No. Don't move the chess pieces around the board to your advantage or to put things off. Get it done now, period, end of sentence. I would even go as far as saying, and I'm only guessing here, you people out there that can crunch the numbers can tell me more, I would guess that within 18 to 24 months, the economy would shoot up over 30%. People would have more money in their pocket to be able to do the things they want to do as consumers. And the producers, whether that be manufacturing or food or whatever. Oh, food, yeah. Get rid of all corporate farming. Put it back in the hands of the people. These people would make some money. The economy would grow. I would say within 5 to 10 years, our GDP would be so freaking, good in a way that would help us, that we would then grow as a United States. But close the damn borders, because that's the first thing. But anyway, people have called me racist for that. What, you're racist? Close the border. They're coming from other countries that are really worse off than we are. Well, because they're cowards. They don't have balls to stand up to their people. And if they do, then of course, you're going to have losses. You're going to have regrets. I mean, that kind of thing. Of course. I mean, it does happen. But we had 3% of the people here in the new colonies stand up to the British Army back in 1775, 1776. And guess what? We kicked their ass. Why don't these other countries that are in so dire straits do the same thing? Because people don't have the balls to do it. Okay? That's just the way, that's what I think anyway. I could be wrong. Hope I am. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com. freeamericaradio@usa.com. No question is off limits. Ask me anything you like. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. You got comments, questions, concerns, even if you disagree with me, email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com. freeamericaradio@usa.com. Go to thewaynespearceshow.weebly.com for more information as well, if you're not already there. And come join me on the Views Expressed live today on Spreaker.com, if you want to join me in the chat, or on freeamericaradio.us to listen to the show live. And I will be live at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Free America Radio Network. Go to freeamericaradio.us. Hey, folks, have a great day. Again, that's freeamericaradio.us.